Hi, friends. I am so honored that you are joining us this morning. I want to say happy Easter because Easter is not just a day. We are Easter people all the time. And so it is awesome to be celebrating resurrection again today, especially in the midst of what is an extremely extraordinary circumstance that we all find ourselves in. I hope you were able to stream our worship service yesterday. If you weren't, you really should get on that because our music yesterday was phenomenal. And the service was just a special time. Again, I mentioned like after Palm Sunday, one of the things that I was kind of grieving was not being able to be in the sanctuary and have the kids like lead us in with the processional. And another thing that I was kind of grieving is my first Foundry Easter not being held on site. But it delivered because Foundry Easter always delivers. So if you didn't get an opportunity to watch, I suggest that you do because it was a meaningful service. Well, I am really excited to introduce something new that we're trying today and are going to continue on in the weeks to come, and that's a Foundry Parents interview series. As we're looking at family ministries and kind of figuring out how we could best do ministry together during this time, one of the things that kept coming up is questions about parenting and how to sort of manage all the things that go along with that during this season. And so out of that, this interview series was born. We're going to start this interview series today with a friend and former roommate from college. Her name is Carissa J. She played soccer at Trevecca, which is where we went to college, and I played basketball. We were roommates. I'm going to welcome her in now. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Before she starts and tries to defend herself, though, I have to tell y'all she has one major character flaw, and so I'm going to just air that out right now. She's a Chicago Blackhawks fan, and there's just nothing that can be done about it.
It's so true. So true.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to ask you is to just see if you would tell us a little bit about yourself, about where you're from, about your beautiful family, what you like to do together and separately.
Sure. So we live in the Chicagoland area in the suburbs. We're about 30 miles out of the city of Chicago. And I met my husband here. I grew up here for most of my life. I've moved around a few times. My dad's a preacher, so we've been all over the place. And we had our first child in 2018, in December, Madison, and she's a year and a few months old. And basically, the things we like to do for fun together as a family involve sports games, with Madison, play dates, neighborhood gatherings. We have a lot of neighbors that we know pretty well now with kids as well. Dinner dates, workout, pretty much anything I would say that's pretty like normal day to day. We definitely like to do together. And then separately, I'd say probably the same things, just maybe with our friends. So but otherwise, it's pretty much the same, together or separate, what we like to do for fun.
Awesome. That is awesome. You'll hear sports kind of like running through big sports people. Okay, we're going to like just jump into like a real heavy question, just like right away. So why don't you tell us about your journey to motherhood, the highs, the lows, sort of like, anything you want to share with us about that journey and where you are now.
Sure. So I'll start with the lows because I definitely think that it's definitely not talked about much, but talked about enough. But I think the lows were, it's such a mixture. But I think the lows started with, right after you have a baby, it's like total life change. At least for me, it was like just in general. Before we had kids, we were really fast paced, going to work, going here, going there. Like we really didn't have to think about somebody else. So then jumping into, mom, baby, basically being a mom full time was definitely, I think, a hard transition. It kind of stripped away every ounce of selfishness that we had. Like, basically, it's like, no, like, and of course you want to, right? Because when you become a mom, like, I think it just naturally comes like, oh my gosh, like, you are my child. Like, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do whatever I can to like keep you safe. And to help, raise you and to teach you. And so I think it's a natural thing for sure, but I also think it's definitely hard. It's a hard life change and transition. And so that was definitely a low, but then the highs was just, the experience overall. Like, pregnancy was very different, obviously, than anything that I've been through. But just meeting your child for the first time, it's super invigorating. It's definitely nothing can match it. At least, at least in my life, it was probably my favorite part of life. More than anything was meeting my child for the first time. So that's definitely been a super big high. And then also seeing her grow and learn and seeing different things tick in her brain, like, oh, like, I like that, or I like to do that, or I'm learning that. And then also seeing what she doesn't like too. So just getting to know her is definitely a big high, and going through life with her so far has been awesome.
I love that. I love the way you said getting to know her. That's one of my favorite things, is like, we have these little humans and they like are who they are. And so learning them is just part of the amazing journey of parenting.
Oh yeah.
How does like faith play a role in your parenting?
So I've always been raised going to church, being involved in church, learning that like Christ Jesus is our savior, ask Jesus into your heart, the whole 9 yards. And being a preacher's kid, it's church was always like a major part in my life. I think that I do it a little differently than maybe my parents did, because they were, obviously like the spotlight of the church, being a head pastor. But then for me, I'm not a pastor, or not married to one or anything like that. So for me, it's I like to be in a part of church, and we like going to church. It's something we like to do together on Sundays. It's something that even if we can't go because somebody's sick or my husband's working, like, we still come in live, the live stream, we still like to participate regardless. So I think that having that part, like Sundays have always been my favorite family day. We go to church, or we watch church, or we eat lunch together. And then I also think that like teaching our kids that, that God is part of our everyday life, that it's not just like a Sunday thing, that it is like including him in everything, I think is definitely what I'm going to try to bring into to her world. Now she's still young, so I haven't really, like, I wouldn't say that she is like praying or anything like that. I don't know. But I think she's watching. I think she's watching what me and my husband do.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's so important. I also, as you were talking about being a preacher's kid, obviously it makes me think about my own kids, and just that relief of like, okay, we don't have to be in the spotlight anymore. I imagine that's like a really sort of freeing experience, and maybe opens up the church in a whole new way. And so,
yep.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I want to know, like, what has Madison taught you? Your daughter, what has Madison taught you?
Definitely a lot of selflessness. I know I had mentioned that parenthood really strips away selfishness that you may have. So that is something that I've really learned. Patience is another one. Like, I think that it's, an interesting part of life in general is you're always waiting for the next season, or the next this or the next that. And I think with kids, it's so true too. Like, you're like, oh, can't wait till they can do this or do that, or can't wait till, like, right now, I can't wait till she can like fully communicate with me and have conversations with me. And but at the same time, like, I'm also enjoying like where she's at now. So I think that it's teaching me patience, and like learning to enjoy the little moments, embrace the big moments, but also like, not wish time away, of course, because I think it's really teaching me to slow down too, as well, just so I can enjoy these moments with her. Because I think that in general, even before being a parent, like, you just go, or you really, you can keep going. But when you have kids, it is, it does change the daily life and the structure and like what you do in a day. So everything from time to patience to selflessness, I think those are the main things that she's definitely taught me.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking about like all the things that we learn from our kids. And then I had a thought about sort of like the moments in which I just kind of marvel at them. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if you have that experience, if you ever just looking at her and just go, oh my goodness, like, I can't believe that God worked this out, that like I could be this child's parent.
Right.
Yeah.
you
So
feel like honored too. It's like, oh, I'm so like, I don't know. It's like, I get to be your parent. Like that's a blessing in itself. And then sometimes also like I look at her and she almost mirrors me sometimes in some like different personality things. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be raising a little bit of me and a little bit of my husband. And you kind of like think like, oh, like, you know, they are like their own individual person, but you still start to see things that, you know, remind you of yourself. And you're like, wow, that's new. But
yeah. Yeah, no, it's like such a meta experience. I can't even describe it. But the other day I was actually talking to my therapist, like hashtag real life. I was talking to my therapist the other day, and I was just kind of talking about how I haven't really experienced a lot of emotion since moving to DC. And how like the week prior I was just like staring into Cash, my 5-year-old. I was just staring into his eyes and just like openly weeping and like couldn't stop. It was just like the power of being in that moment with that child, like him staring at me. Like it was just this whole thing. And I think part of it too is like experiencing kind of like his look even on his face kind of reminded me of myself. So like exactly what you're saying about recognizing yourself in your kids. Um, anyway, yeah, it was just one of those moments that I was thinking about. Okay, so I want to talk about your Instagram. Can we,
yes.
or do you have something else on that?
I was just going to tell you that just going back to this quarantine time, I think when it first started, it was, you know, supposed to be, or maybe we thought it was supposed to be short-lived, and you know, it obviously hasn't been. And a few nights ago, I think was the first time just you were talking about like, you know, not really living in emotion recently, but a few nights ago, I feel like it kind of felt like that for me too, where for the last like month, it's just kind of been, we've been going day to day, trying to like figure out like what the new normal looks like. But I kind of broke down. I had a teary moment with my husband just, you know, at night. And I was like, Madison was sleeping, and I was like, you know, I don't know how to protect her in the world right now. Like, I don't know how to keep her safe. I don't even know when this is over how to keep her safe. Like, you know, it's almost like you feel like this big pressure that like I'm meant to be her mom, but how am I going to do this right? Like, how am I going to keep, you know, because so much is going on around us that we can't really control. And so I just like to add to that like moment of like, you know, just emotion, basically massive emotion just came on me out of nowhere. So
Yeah. That question, how am I going to do this right, like really echoes with me. I also think about Glennon Doyle. Like I get sort of, you know, some that may not be for everybody, but I like Glennon Doyle a lot. And her, one of the things that she talks about is just doing the next right thing. So like, that's my mantra all the time is like, okay, can I just like in the next moment do the next right thing? Because otherwise like, and even still, like I'm so prone to being overwhelmed by the exact same things you're talking about. So yeah, that I totally echo that 100%. Okay, so I want to talk about your Instagram now. So Carissa and I, like, we go way back, but we probably haven't had a conversation in, I couldn't even estimate how long it's been. So we're like reconnecting live in real time in front of you all. But she started this Instagram, and this is one of the things that made me want to reach out. It's Toddler Moms Unite, and it's on Instagram. And it was, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is brilliant. I love every second of it. I'm also a toddler mom. But what I found too is that it's the things that you're doing are great for all ages. Like they really are. And they're very easy to be, they're very like easily adaptable. So one of the things that I want to talk to you about is like the inspiration behind starting your Instagram. So like what kind of inspired you to do this, if you want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. So the original reasons why I created the Instagram is way different than before. I think at first, you know, when we were told that like, hey, you know, everything's going to close down. You guys can't go out to eat, can't really go anywhere but the store. You know, that's really intimidating for especially people that are used to being on the go. So I think originally when I created it, it was right around that time when all of this around us was being closed down, basically. And I was like, well, I'm just going to create an Instagram for me and a couple of my mom friends that, you know, maybe we can bounce some ideas off each other on things to do with our toddlers, because I know a lot of my community is, or like people that I spend a lot of time with, they have young children mainly toddler age. So I'm like, this could just be like a, community type thing where we can just jump on, share some ideas. And I have a goal of doing one activity with my toddler a day from now until this quarantine is over, which at the time was a few weeks. Now it's funny now looking back, because I remember even sitting up with my husband one night and being like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do tomorrow? And he goes, you made this promise to yourself to do a new activity every day, so you got to figure that out. And so it's definitely been a more long-term commitment than I had expected, but I think it's been a huge motivation every day to try to do something new with her, whether it's short-lived or long-lived, because toddlers, it can be either. It could be, oh, this was 5 minutes, or it could be, oh wow, we're 45 minutes in and you're still loving it. So I think it's just definitely been a major motivator. But I definitely think the reasons then are even different now. Now it's a big motivator. Then it was like, I need, a place where I can go and see if I can bounce ideas and find, post different activities. So.
Yeah, well, seriously, the things that you're doing are so cute, and they're so they're smart, and they're so fun. Like, I was thinking about the ways in which some of the activities that you're doing like are helping define motor skills and are helping doing all of the things that like developmentally our children are needing during this time, particularly if they're not going to like daycare or school or preschool,
Right.
or places where our kids might be getting that. So I love it. I wondered if you might tell us about like, maybe just pick one of your favorite activities that you've done with Madison so far.
There's been a couple, but it's the most basic one. The cups, stacking the cups. We have like just a set of everyday plastic cups. And that was the longest living activity, which I thought this was just going to be, a mess or something. Like, I didn't think it was going to be anything that was going to like, maybe last more than a few minutes. And she's loved it. And we pulled them back out a few days ago. And now it's becoming wearing cups. It used to be stacking. And now she puts them on her hands, walks around with them. She puts them on her feet and tries to stand up with them. So it's even becoming different than it was the first time. So I think that's definitely been my favorite activity and the most surprising, because it's easy, simple, and it's just using cups. It's like, that's something that anyone could do at their home.
Yeah, of course. Like that's what I'm talking about, like smart and fun and simple, with stuff that you have that you don't have to like necessarily go out and, risk anything to get. Like, that's awesome. The one for me that I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant, was the spaghetti noodles that were, can you talk about that one for just a second?
The rainbow spaghettis?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just to go back a little bit too, the way that I find these activities are either from just, oh, hey, I have cups, let's try cups, or it's just researching and looking at different toddler pages like on Google and just trying to find something that would work for me, that with using things I have in my house. Because I think that's been the biggest thing, is like not having to go shop, because I realize I can go on Amazon and Google toddler activities, or search toddler activities and purchase them, right? But I'm like, I want to be able to do things using things that I have in my house. And so the spaghetti noodles, I have food coloring and I have a ton of noodles, and it's edible. And so we cooked up noodles just like normal and, did the rainbow. And at first it was, playing with the noodles. And then of course it became eating the noodles. But yeah, that was a super easy one, that again, using noodles that you probably have, and food coloring.
Yeah, it was just genius. And I loved it. If only, I mean, not just only for the rainbows, but like loved it. It was great.
Yes.
Okay, so you've touched on this a little bit, but I want to see if you can sort of talk a little bit more about how this whole time, in social distancing and physical distancing, quarantine, like whatever we're calling it, this whole time of being sort of in a different mode, has shifted your role as a parent.
Absolutely. So this is a big loaded one, I think, because I think before quarantine, me personally, I relied on a lot of outside factors, for my toddler. For example, I go to work, she goes to in-home daycare. She has social time during a play date. She goes to open gym at the gymnastics gym to get her exercise. It's like all these outside factors and all these outside people that make up my toddler's life. Well, right now, I'm pretty much all of those things. I'm teacher, I'm socialization for her, I'm activity creator, I'm mom, I'm, wash my clothes mom, change my diaper mom. Like I'm pretty much everything now. I mean, and again, we're always that, but I think that having everything that you're used to doing taken away changes your role just in general, because now I'm doing it all, right? And also trying to balance the workload. So I think that it's definitely shifted my role to be all of these things, but I also think it's teaching me a lot of how much I relied on outside things to shape my toddler and who she is. Like I think I've always relied on other people and other things to, you know, be this or that to her. And right now, it's teaching me that family and the people inside your four walls are truly the most important people. I know this is like kind of cheesy, but the Maren Morris song that is Bones, it's called Bones. And I always
Love that
thought,
song.
right. I mean, I've heard it 1,000 times before the quarantine, but for some reason during the quarantine, I actually listened to it. I think I saw a music video or something, and I was like, what a great song. It basically, I think I pulled a quote from it, but it says, when the bones are good, the rest don't matter. The house don't fall when the bones are good. And I loved that quote because I think it taught me that your home life, like your people, you know, what you do with your family really is the bones of like your existence, bones of your and purpose of your life. And I think that it really taught me that I need to make sure that I focus more time on this, especially when quarantine ends, more than I have before, and not just rely on those outside things to shape, you know, my life. Basically, I know we're social beings and we're meant to, you know, live out with other people and live life with other people, but I think it's really, really, really important to also, you know, keep your bones good, keep your family life strong.
Yeah, as a fellow mom who typically works outside the home, yeah, like what I'm hearing you say is that maybe I know this is resonating with me, is that like sometimes it's hard to balance all the things like in equilibrium. Like sometimes, you know, and there are seasons where that will always be true. And so there's no guilt or no shame about
Right.
that.
Right.
But that sort of reacquainting your role in the house in this way has been reinvigorating to your relationship with your family. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And for those of us who find ourselves in, you know, healthy and safe home lives, in healthy relationships, like that's what a beautiful gift that is for us and for those who are around us. So yeah, I think that's awesome. What do you think is the most important thing that parents and caregivers of toddlers in particular can prioritize right now?
I think just time. I think that, you know, like you had said, I think everybody's loads are different, or look different, you know, what they're trying to carry and manage right now at home. I think everyone's situations are different. But I think that if you can allocate, you know, X amount of undivided time to your kids, you know, and it can be small and it can be great. It can be really as much as you can do. I think that just makes all the difference, because I think that that's, you know, another goal for the Instagram page is I want to make sure that this time that I set aside to do this activity is also like undivided. Like, you know, besides taking photos with my phone, not engaged on my phone, not on a work call, you know, not, you know, on a FaceTime with my family, like doing 15 things at once. Like, I'm like, I just need to give her time. And it's amazing to see when I do give her that undivided time, you know, again, like whether it's short or long, she just lights up. It's like she knows that I'm there with her and that like nothing is taking, you know, my attention away. And so that's like, I think the biggest thing that I think we can give our kids right now is time, because truthfully, when this, you know, does go away, and who knows when, it will get busy again, or, you know, at some capacity. And I think that we won't have maybe as much opportunity to take that time. So I think if we have the time, definitely take it right now.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What advice do you have about staying sane? This is something that I'm seeing everywhere. Is like there are memes about it. Like moms
Right.
are going crazy. Like I'm sure you've seen the meme of like a parent trying to work from home and like the kids duct taped in the background.
Yep.
So this is a very important, pertinent question. Like, what are some tips or advice that you have about staying sane during all of this?
Sure. And I definitely resonate with that meme sometimes, because sometimes my husband is, you know, essential worker, I guess you could say. So he is working still. And so sometimes it is me working at home, trying to do it all. And that meme is hilarious. I've seen it. But I think my advice, and I've struggled with this a lot too, particularly the last week or so, because I think that's when it sunk in that this could be quite a while, especially in the Chicagoland area. You know, it's easy to feel uneasy about the world we live in, the world I'm bringing up my kids in, right? So I think the one thing I turn to right now is prayer, for sure. Like every morning and night, I'm just like, praying that for the right things to say, for the right things to armor myself with to get through each day. Patience is a huge one, trying to learn patience. So prayer is a huge one. As far as staying sane, I think just trying to talk to God about, anything that's going on, I think is that relationship with God in general, like that, prayer. I feel like that's a huge thing for me in my life as far as like a relationship with Christ is definitely prayer. But the other one is talk to a friend, talk to a family member. If you're feeling isolated in general, I definitely have found that even just doing a quick FaceTime with a family member or a friend or, your pastor or a leader of some sort, or even a mentor, it just brightens your day. Like, we had a friend stop by yesterday, just dropping off little goodies and mailbox, in our mailboxes, social distancing, but we caught them in the middle of doing it. And just having that 20-minute quick conversation it just brightened my day. So I think just, staying social and trying to talk to people, talk to family members, and prayer tied in with that. Those are two things that I definitely recommend to try to stay sane during this time.
Yeah, that's absolutely great advice. You said it's easy to feel uneasy, and that really hit me. Something that I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right about that. Feels like a really good hashtag also.
Right. And other people are going through this too. So you're not alone. And most of us don't know what, how long this is going to be, or what tomorrow brings, or what next month brings, or what, what financially this is going to bring on you or your family. So other people are going through this too. So it's good to talk to somebody sometimes about, not hold it all in.
Yeah, one of the things that we did sort of on a whim, shout out to Carrie Kidwell Slack. She created a Foundry Families Facebook group. And almost instantly it became sort of this cohort of parents who are just caring for one another during this time, and a place of solidarity where parents can come and be like, look, I am really struggling today with XYZ. And then there are just numerous other parents who are like, yep, we struggle with that too. We're here, we can pray for you. And it really has become this place of prayer. And you've been talking so much about prayer, and it's really beautiful. Sort of our last official question, and then we're going to play a quick game. So the last official question is if you could tell toddler caregivers, parents, whatever, one thing right now, just one thing, and if nobody gets anything else out of this, this one thing, what would you tell them?
We're all in this together. That's definitely the one thing I think that, like you were saying, we're all in this together. You're not alone. Of course, love your families as well. That's another one, but for sure, just we're all in this together. You're not alone. Definitely just know that you're not alone in this time.
It's so funny that you say that. And this is totally not planned, and I wasn't even going to share this, but I was watching High School Musical last night. And that's the major ending song, right? Is we're all in this together. And so anyway, I think that's awesome. I love that. Okay. Let's see. Are you still there? We may have lost her, y'all. Okay, if she comes back on, we'll bring her back. We're going to play a game, and I'll just play it with myself because I picked out these pictures, and I think they're funny. So here's the first one. My first reaction is terror, and I would probably cry and yell because though that hasn't happened yet, I do have a toddler who likes to play in the toilet. So let's see. Here's another one. This is just another real life. Assuming that's a bathroom door, probably is. This is consistently what the other side of the bathroom door looks like. Here's another one. Oh, here, we'll do this one. This will be the last one. That is peanut butter. First of all, I have a peanut allergy kid, so like just taking that completely out of the equation, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like peanut butter is one of the hardest things to clean, and I can't even fathom. I can't even fathom like, and also I don't live in a place where I can just go outside and like hose them down anymore. So I don't know. I don't even know how I'd manage that, but it's absolutely terrifying. So, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Sorry that we lost Carissa, but she gave us some amazing, amazing, wonderful advice. I think she may be back. Let's see if we can bring her in again. No, well, I thought we had her. We may not. She gave us some amazing advice, and she's just a wonderful human, and I think you can tell that by listening to her. I want to make sure that if you're on Instagram that you follow at Toddler Moms Unite. That Instagram in particular is private because it's, about kids. And she wants to try to do everything she can to keep Madison safe. So obviously, that she's back. Yay.
Was it my internet? I think my internet froze. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know, but I was just plugging your Instagram and telling everyone how it's private because you're trying to keep Madison safe, and obviously, but if you follow at Tell Her Moms Unite, then you'll get to see all of these amazing activities and all of that stuff. I sort of played this game without you, but I'm gonna pull up one just because I have to see your reaction to this. Okay.
Yep. So true. Usually I just have the door open and we just go with it. But
exactly. At this point,
it ends up everywhere, which is not great either right now. But yep.
Real life. Real life. Okay. Well, again, we've plugged your Instagram. I just want to thank you so much for coming on and for talking to all of us. Like I said, when you probably couldn't hear me, like you've given us so much wisdom and advice today. And it just reminds me like what an amazing human you are and how much I miss you. So I hope that you and Madison and Andrew are amazing. And I hope that we get to talk again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate it too. I loved, joining this. And again, if anyone has questions or anything, you can find me on my Instagram. So, I'd be happy to talk to you guys or, message with you or, whatever the case may be. So that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Well, can we close in prayer?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, let's pray. God, I am so thankful for an opportunity to just get to talk about all things parenting, for an opportunity to reconnect with an old friend, for an opportunity to be blessed by someone as amazing as Carissa. I pray for our Foundry parents and for the unique challenges that they're experiencing during this time, that they may feel that you are close, that they may be inspired in prayer, that they may draw near to your word, and that they may know that, as Carissa mentioned, that we are all in this together and that they are not alone. We thank you and praise you every single day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, friends. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week.